Hello, welcome to Math 251 Calculus 1 here at Cañada College. My name is Lapuz and I'm the instructor for the course. In this video, we will be taking a quick overview of section 3.3, some differentiation rules. So the idea behind this is to establish a handful of shortcuts to help us find derivatives of more complicated functions. And so we're going to look at the derivative of a constant times a function, and some power rules. And then we're going to take a look at the sum difference, quotient rule and product rules, and etc. So first, the idea of a constant. The derivative of a constant is going to be 0. So think about that as a constant is going to be a horizontal line. The slope of the horizontal line is going to be 0 everywhere, and so we can look at it graphically that way. Now we can also use a difference quotient, and you'll have c minus c in the numerator, and that's going to give you 0 as well. So a derivative of a constant is going to be 0. Next is a power rule. So the derivative of a power rule is going to be the derivative of x to the nth power is going to be n times x to the n minus 1. So you drop the power and you take x and then you subtract 1 from the power. Now in this particular section, this power rule works for positive integers, at least in the beginning. Later on, once we introduce the quotient rule, we can generalize the power rule to not just for positive integers but also for negative integers as well. And so in fact, the way to prove this works for positive integers, and in the way we're going to prove it for negative integers, or the way the book proves it for negative integers, is to assume the quotient rule. Later on, they're going to show that this is actually true not just for positive integers and not just for positive and negative integers, but for any real number. So that includes fractions, that includes pi, that includes, square root numbers or transcendental numbers, whatever. So the power rule is going to be more powerful, but in the beginning, this is its introduction. Next, we'll take a look at the sum and difference and the constant multiple rules. So the derivative of a sum or difference is going to be the sum or difference of the derivatives. And so this one looks pretty straightforward. And the constant multiple of the derivative of a constant times a function is going to be as if you were taking the constant out and just taking the derivative of the function. So with this and the power rule, we can take the derivative of any polynomial at this point. And so taking the derivative of any polynomial will be an important aspect for us to be able to do. Next are the quotient and product rules. Notice that the derivative of a sum or difference is a sum or difference of the derivative. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for the products. So the derivative of a product is not the product of its derivatives. Instead, you have to use what they're calling the product rule, and then you have to use the quotient rule. So the product rule tells us that if we want to take the derivative of a product, f and g, then it's going to be the derivative of f times the original function g plus the derivative of g times the original function f. So this is something that you'll do over and over and over again in your calculus career. So I would suggest that you begin memorizing this now, so that you'll, next couple of semesters after taking more calculus, this will just be automatic. The quotient rule is also one of those things that you should try to remember, and the derivative of f divided by g is first going to be the derivative of f times the original g minus, now there's a minus sign here, so the order is going to be important. That's the derivative of g times the original function f, and then that's all divided by g squared. So one way that I remember this is low d high, or ho d high, if you let your low be ho and let your high be high. So the high is the numerator, the low is the denominator. So it's ho d high minus high d ho. divided by ho-ho. Okay, so any way you could try to remember it, mnemonics, search YouTube or search the internet to see what might be a good way for you to remember the quotient rule. That's fine. The product rule is not so difficult because it's addition and multiplication, so switching the order isn't going to make a difference, but the quotient rule with a negative sign will be important. Okay, so that is our rundown of section 3.3. There's a generalized power rule as well, which is just the power rule that I was talking about earlier, and then after that we'll combine more rules to be able to find derivatives of more functions. Okay, I hope that gives you a head start, and good luck.